Senator from Maine.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I rise to recognize the truly extraordinary contributions to the United States Senate, to her home state of Arizona, and to our country of my friend and colleague, Senator Kyrsten Sinema. The qualities that took Kyrsten from a difficult childhood to college, law school, the Arizona legislature, and the United States Congress are evident to all of us who have had the privilege to work alongside such a remarkable leader. Her strength, courage, and fierce independence are inspiring. Her belief in the power of hard work and the importance of lending a hand to those in need guides her approach to public service. Most of all, Mr. President, I will never forget her persistence in forging compromises that benefit the American people. It truly is remarkable. Kyrsten always puts country over party. I've had the privilege of working with Kyrsten on consequential legislation. She was a negotiator of the Electoral Count Reform and Presidential Transition Act to ensure the orderly transition of presidential power. She was the lead Democratic negotiator of the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act, the most significant investment in our infrastructure since the interstate highway system in the 1950s. Kyrsten's work to craft the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act is yet another example. She co-authored the provisions to better prevent domestic abusers from having access to firearms. She was vital to the success of the Respect for Marriage Act, which defends same-sex marriages while at the same time strengthening and respecting religious liberties. Kyrsten also believes in protecting our institutions, and she spoke eloquently today of the importance of the filibuster and made such a compelling case. Standing up to intense pressure, her strong defense of the filibuster preserved the rights of the minority. And I've been here when Republicans have been in the majority and when they've been in the minority. She reminded us that working together across party lines inevitably produces better legislation that's more carefully thought out and drafted. In a powerful speech that Senator Sinema gave to a college on a college campus 2 years ago, she said this: "Imagine what more we could accomplish for our country if, rather than staying in comfortable partisan corners, more leaders reached out in a genuine desire to craft durable, bipartisan solutions to our country's most difficult challenges." That is exactly what Kyrsten Sinema has done. She is that kind of leader. I thank her for her service, for making such a difference in the United States Senate, for her country, for the Senate, and for her home state. And I wish her all the best in her next endeavor. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator from Utah. I don't think I've had a better friend in the United States Senate than Senator Kyrsten Sinema. We are best friends, and I would not have predicted that at the outset. By all appearance, we're about as different as we can be, but actually our roots are very much in the same soil. We've grown up with the kinds of values that have shaped our lives and our public service. When she first came to the Senate floor, her appearance was quite striking, and her personality was in a similar vein, highly noticeable. And I turned to one of my Senate colleagues and I said, "What do you think about that new senator from Arizona?" And he said, "I can tell you right now, she's going to be trouble." She obtained the nickname Trouble at that point and has carried it ever since, at least in my lexicon. The truth is, she's been so far from trouble, it's hard to imagine a less appropriate name. Why is that? One, I believe she has been the most productive United States Senator in the last 6 years of anyone in this body. Now, there may be a competition here or there from other people, but I don't think so. If you look at all the legislation of significance that's been passed over the last 6 years, she has been critical to it, generally leading it, at least a co-chair in virtually all of that legislation. At the same time, she gets along with everybody, and I think those are related. There are some members of my own caucus, which I believe are an acquired taste, which I haven't acquired yet. And yet she has, from the outset, been able to make friends with people who are dramatically different in politics, but also different in personal style. She likes some very difficult to like people. And as a result of those friendships, she's been able to get people to come across the aisle from time to time when it was critical to get things done. But if I had to say what has distinguished her most as a member of this body, not just the fact that she's been the most productive and has been able to get people on both sides of the aisle to work through tough issues and to make the Senate work when we were stalled, what I think sets her apart most is the degree of her principle and character. She is an individual who was raised in a home with principles, went to institutions including my alma mater, Brigham Young University. She graduated a lot faster than I did and made it through that university in a short period of time. But at one point, my colleagues asked me, is she going to be able to stand up to the pressure that's going to be placed on her for preserving the institution of the Senate? Because there's going to be enormous political pressure rained upon her. And will she be able to resist that pressure? And I volunteered at our caucus lunch to go sound out whether she would have the capacity to overcome what was a groundswell on her side of the aisle to take action which would have devastated, in my view, the institution of the Senate. And I approached her and said, Kyrsten, will you be able to vote no? Will you be able to defend the principle that has made the Senate work over these decades? And she said, Mitt, you ought to know me by now. I was raised with the same values you had. I'm a person of principle, and I stand by my principles. And I've watched her time and again do that very thing. I spoke with one of the leaders in my party, and I said, how is the Senate going to work without Kyrsten Sinema to bridge the divide that often exists between us? And he said, I'm not sure it will be able to work without her. How in the world she is not coming back as United States Senator is one of the great mysteries to me. She should be coming back. We need her in this body. She has been an essential member of this body. I'll just close with this. I used to love reading books by Louis L'Amour. He writes about the American West. I read them all. I'd probably still love them. I'm getting old enough to forget his earlier books, so I could read them again. I'm sure love them. But he had an expression about people that were just really individuals you could count on, rely on, people of character and capacity and principle. He said they had sand. And if there's someone who has sand in this body, it's Kyrsten Sinema. She's going to continue to make a huge imprint on the United States of America. It's been an honor to serve with her. I feel we have been blessed by having her in this body. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President.
The Democratic Whip.
Mr. President, one of my jobs in this Congress as chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee and considering hundreds of nominees for lifetime appointments to the federal bench. It's been quite a process. 80% of those who've gone through have been on a bipartisan basis, which is a good thing, but there have been ups and downs. There's only one senator who's able to bring two nominees from her state through the committee without the usual waiting periods, because she asked on the other side for permission to move forward. They trusted her, they liked her, and they gave her an exception. In both instances, Kyrsten Sinema has delivered for the state of Arizona when it comes to federal judges on an expedited basis, driven solely by her personality and charm and ability, I might add. I also want to say a word. I've invested a large part of my Senate career on the immigration issue, and I thank her for her valiant effort trying to put together a bipartisan effort on that whole immigration issue. I know it was a heartbreak for you not to be able to do that, and I think you really held the key to bringing together both sides in a way that I've never seen in the Senate. So thank you for trying, thank you for your effort, congratulations on your achievements, and I wish you the very best.